As a full-time professional copywriter, I charge between 30 cents to $1 per word. And that got me thinking, how far can you stretch $1? I hired 3 of the world's cheapest writers. Here's how it went. I would say it wasn't even close. It was what I expected, and it was not good. Hey, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. All around, welcome. I'm Carrieblogger, a career freelancer on Fiverr.com, where I've been selling as a Fiverr Pro verified copywriter for about the past 8 years. And in today's Freelance Friday video, as I mentioned, I hired 3 of the world's cheapest writers, and it was a little bit of a thing. I had some expectations going into it, and let's just say one of them was met. One of them was so exceeded, and I'm excited to share that journey with you. So I work on a platform called Fiverr. If you haven't heard of it, it is a marketplace for freelancers, and the base price is $5. I did a lot of searching across the site, and I found 3 that stood out to me as the most inexpensive writers that I could possibly find. The first offered 10,000 words for $5. The next offered 1,500 words for $5, and the third offered 800 words for $5. And all 3 of these women were substantially underpriced compared to their competition.
For reference, we are not talking pennies per word. We are not even talking $1 per hour. We're talking fractions of pennies per word. Less than $1 per hour. Probably not even 50 cents an hour.
Should you be charging more than that? Is it worth more than that? Is it worth it to you and your time more than that? That's what I wanted to see. So the 10,000 words ghostwriting order instantly piqued my interest because that's insane. That's absolutely insane. And I tried to order it. There were a couple negative red flags here. Number 1, all of their reviews were 1 star because they didn't deliver the work. I'm not sure that they ever actually were on the platform and actually delivered anything. So that wasn't good. The other terrible sign was that they hadn't been online for 7 years. So I tried to order that. That didn't work. No delivery, no order, not possible. So moving on to the real 2 contenders. The other order that I received didn't do it. I would say it wasn't even close. It was what I expected, and it was not good. And I would say it really wasn't even worth the $5. Because I am being incredibly harsh on this person for good reason. I don't think I'm like just being mean. I think I'm being accurate. I'm not gonna say her username because I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. So this is just a critique on a nameless seller, not trying to throw anybody on the bus here. I knew right off the bat that I wasn't going to be expecting native English speaking because when I read the writing that she has on her account, it doesn't read without errors. I really only purchased this because it was the cheapest I could find. But I knew that in going into it, I wasn't really expecting a lot. I received 800 words for $5. So I started off by trying to give her a really ridiculous prompt. She came back and tried to upsell me, which is fair, but I was not to be upsold. I was here to hire the cheapest writer. And she said, well, I'm really a fashion and makeup blogger, so I can only do those. Otherwise, the other things have to have a bunch of other stuff. And I said, okay, I'll change. They're completely made up nonsense. And so she's not going to find something online that's easily replicatable. Cannot easily be replicated. So the first was all about daisies, spring makeup trends in 2021. I have no idea if daisies are coming back as a makeup trend this year, but I thought that was a really interesting concept, so why not? And the second was how the Marvel Cinematic Universe influenced modern streetwear, which again, I think is a dope topic. I included this really cool streetwear brand that literally focuses on comic-inspired superhero streetwear. So here's what I got. With the start of 2021, the spring makeup trends are changing now. There are endless possibilities of makeovers applied by keeping the daisies in mind. So want to adopt a daisy look? Here's a tip for you. For glamorous daisies eyes, put a long lash. Apply ultra black mascara on top and bottom and let them wet. Thus, deployed around the eye resembles a daisy look, which has the advantage of enlarging the gaze. This doesn't sound like a native English speaker, which I was expecting. Like I said, I figured that. But it also just doesn't make sense. And I actually asked her to add these photos in because reading this, I had no idea what she was describing. And that made me think that maybe she was just copying something she had written for another blog and chucking it in here. Finally, with the help of your brush, sweep the fringe of lashes from the outside to the inside of the eye to seal several lashes together and create this wet effect. So again, we're talking about like wet mascara that has absolutely nothing to do with daisies. Next to this beautiful image, daisies, like actual daisies. Like I want the daisies. I don't understand it. I honestly don't know what the instructions are. I don't know. So we'll see if the Marvel Cinematic Universe one was any better, because this one genuinely could be so good. I gave her a link to an actual company that specializes in superhuman streetwear. Avengers Endgame is a summarized conclusion of the 10 years storylines, namely as MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe. That has nothing to do with the topic. I'm sorry, I just gotta say it. We're off to a bad start. It will be a farewell for some characters after a decade, whereas its decided costume is super cool, like dinner, and truly attractive compared to other less cool significant. So I have no idea what that sentence means. What the first paragraph is has nothing to do with the topic. And if the writing that you are creating does not actually answer the topic, is not actually on point with the goal of what is meant to be said in the article or in any piece of writing, you have failed at the most basic level because it doesn't fulfill the brief. Tony Stark wears more than 15 suits in this movie because he evolved from a scrap pile into composed living weapons of nanobot technology. I'm sorry, I'm trying so hard to not be condescending, and I'm probably sounding very condescending right now, but you have to admit that that makes no sense. And it's just so not on topic. In the MCU, not only I think she meant to say Stark. Not only Stark, but other actors also have a different costume than Liberace Concert. Is that a thing? Like that must be through a spinner. How would you possibly come up with that? And the interesting thing is that she sent me Grammarly plagiarism reports. It's sad to me personally that the check of approval for a job well done at the very baseline is just the fact that it's not stolen, or at least that it is not recognizable as being stolen. She is in Pakistan. She is young and she is working to try to support herself through university as a sole provider for her family. And I want her to be successful. And I really think it's amazing that she has the drive and ambition and confidence to put herself out here like this and be doing it and to make things happen for herself. So good for her. All of that, good for her. So was it worth $5 even for 800 words? Absolutely not. It wasn't worth it to read. It wouldn't be worth it to post. And honestly, it wasn't worth her time. The only reason it was worth her time is because she is a hardworking person who's trying to make a better life for herself, and I respect that. That being said, I sent a message to her personally after the order. I wanted her and everyone else who might be in this position, either as someone who's growing in their field or someone who is trying to make a better living for themselves by pushing themselves to do something that they may not necessarily be actually qualified for. She has potential, and you have potential. But what it takes is more than just the bare minimum of trying to cheat a system into working for you. We, as a writing community, need to not accept that level of poor performance.
Rant over. Moving on.
1,500 words for $5. This was a seller named Sweet by Design, and I will link to her gig in the description down below. Also, if you're new to Fiverr, you can sign up through the link in the description, and that helps me out. So I placed an imaginary order with her. I wrote out this little prompt. I said, I'm starting a novel and I want to see someone start this book for me and get me rolling in the right direction. I'm looking for an adult contemporary book leaning toward dystopian about a middle-aged man named Ernestine Hubbard. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and his life is incessantly consistent, like annoyingly the same every single day. The book's plot hinges on the moment when he wakes up and notices that something drastically different happened because he can't do the same thing that he always does every morning. I encourage you to take that prompt in whatever direction you'd like. And then I also asked if she could screen record her writing process because I was curious to see that and I wanted some lovely B-roll for this video, but I did not receive that, so it's a bummer. 1,500 words for $5. This is what I got. Beat, 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 beat. Ernestine Hubbard gently slammed down on his alarm clock, cracking one eye open. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon as his clock read 6 o'clock. So there, like, saying clock 3 times in 2 sentences is not ideal. That's okay, I can live with that. He yawned and stretched, comma, maybe. I would put a comma. Feeling his back crack as he sighed in relief. Every single member of his family had made the joke that because he was living in Florida, comma, he was essentially a senior citizen. Ernestine wondered if he was getting as old as they were saying. Yes, his body had slowed down some since his 30s, but he wasn't an invalid. Invalid spelled wrong. Small detail. And then we go through with the birds, with the lawn, how he goes to the bathroom and gets dressed and makes breakfast. A neighbor calls him. We have another character in the mix, which I kind of wasn't expecting, because how are you going to fit world building and this character and another side character into this 1,500 words? This part I loved, okay? After finishing his call, Ernestine ate his breakfast and then went out for a jog. He would do 2 laps around the block, 3 so long as the weather was fair. When he got back, he'd take a shower and spent the rest of the morning reading. I love that. Like, just the tone that she has here. Like, there's such a clear style and creative oomph to what she's doing. That little detail of he would do 3 if the weather was fair, 2 if it wasn't. Like, that's just something that is a spark. It just makes me happy to read. And then we follow him through the rest of the day. And then the next scene starts with the same alarm. Ernestine slapped his alarm clock, the motion so familiar that he didn't boff. So again, just didn't type it right, bother to open his eyes. The bird feeder was surrounded by dead birds. There were the small sparrows that would visit him like clockwork while he was getting dressed and the warblers that he'd hum along to. As the sun began to rise, a red orb on the horizon, the birds' shadows elongated and warped, but the birds themselves remained still. I'm dying. This is so good. Nothing inside was out of place. Everything was as it should be. The sameness was unsettling now that he knew that there was something terribly, terribly wrong. And then we go again through the phone. The neighbor is checking on him. He's saying, you know, what about the sun? There's something going on. And this also, I love. He slowly headed to the window and lifted the blinds, trying not to let his eyes linger any longer on the dead birds. The red sunrise had not faded, the sun moving across the sky as a glowing red ball of flames. So again, we're missing a W, was a glowing red ball of flames. Small detail, not great, but I can handle it. Red in the morning, sailor's warning, he muttered, an old rhyme his mother would say when he was heading out to school. If the sky was red, that meant that there was bad weather ahead. He didn't think that bad weather would be enough to describe what could happen if the sky remained red. The very last sentence, I almost wish he hadn't written because I loved that red in the morning, sailor's warning thing. So clever, so creative, just ran with the brief, did her own thing, made it awesome, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I just like, I got the delivery this morning, like I woke up to it, and I read it and just was like, okay, you did it. You did it, chick. You did it. Like, why are you selling this for $5? This is so good. This is so good. And there are a lot of small issues, like I said, misspellings, missing words, just proofing errors. It wasn't that she didn't have the skills to do it. The skills, the fundamentals, the command of the language, the creative expression, it's in this, and I have such high hopes for her, and this is so cool. One thing to note, I had paid for 1,500 words, and that was why I chose her, because that was the max that I could offer. That was the cheapest writer that I could find, besides the 10,000 words, which didn't pan out. But this beautiful version that I received only had less than 1,300 words. And when she sent me the second draft, which was 1,500 words, it slowed the story down. It added more problems. Lots of things were repeated. Many of the details that she added in actually made it feel like a little bit of a plot hole in this very tiny little document. And so I would take this first draft 100 times over the second, although the second technically filled my quota of 1,500 words. So overall, I have insanely high praise for Sweet by Design. If you are interested in someone ghostwriting for you on a creative prompt, really taking your brief, hearing it, intrinsically understanding it, and bringing it to life in an expansive way, definitely check her out. Again, Sweet by Design, and her link is in the description below. As Sweet by Design proved, the price that you sell at is not defining the quality that you will receive. Not everything that is priced cheaply is an absolute scam. But also, even if it's priced cheaply, this is proving that it might not even be worth that. So I sent warm regards to both of these writers. And in addition to the $5 that I spent on these two orders, I also tipped them personally $50 each as a thank you for their hard work and creative energy. So if you are interested in learning copywriting tips and writing advice from someone who is not the world's cheapest writer, I have a course on Fiverr Learn, and you can check that link in the description below. Check it out if you're interested, and please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel while you're at it. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for supporting me and my channel, and let's get back to work.